Hi, Dawn.
Hello.
So, you know something funny? That people had actually reached out to our prelim panel and asked for feedback.
Yes.
And then some of them were even disappointed
Yeah.
about the fact that they didn't get real feedback.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's hard because as the prelim panel, you're really not sure how far to go with that feedback.
Right.
Especially before the judging.
Right.
Because you don't want to cause like a conflict of interest,
Right.
you know, and like saying something to someone, giving them advice about their bag, and then they get a little heads up. I mean, I would
Right.
love to. It would be great. I'm
Right.
happy to help as much as I can and say.
Right.
And I mean, maybe this season it might be different now
Right.
that we know that there's more of this interaction.
Yeah, we're going to try and make sure that we do this at least once a month. We are right now in Space 530, or 530 Space. Is it
Yeah.
Space 530?
Space 530.
Space 530. They've been generous enough to share this amazing space with us.
It's so awesome.
It's so pretty.
Yeah.
So we get to do this amazing Instagram Live. Start getting your questions out to us because this is really what it's about. Because
Yeah,
it's a
answering
dialogue for not only what makes your bags good for someone like you, but
Right.
what as a preliminary judge, what are you looking for in a bag?
The first thing you look for is like the bag that stands out. That's not like
DNA.
Yes, so much. It's so much about the DNA, and I think, you know, it's funny because I love the stuff that's really outrageous and unique and different.
Right.
But then at the same time, it's like, is this wearable? Am I going to use this every day, or am I going to be that quirky person
Right.
that just goes out on the street with this really wild bag?
Right.
And I think if you're trying to target a big audience and you want it in the big stores like
Right.
Macy's and, you know, Bloomingdale's maybe, you have to think about that
Right.
audience.
Right,
you know?
right, right.
And are those the people who are really going to go out with this like spiky wild bag with
Right.
all different angles? You know.
Right. One of the takeaways that I always think about is so many people do not take their bags for a test drive.
And it's so important.
So they get obsessed with the process, they get obsessed with creating something new and innovative and unique and different, but yet they aren't doing their research, they aren't really having a deep think. Who's their customer? Could their customer, not even that, afford their bags?
That too.
Which is the thing, once you cross that $500 price point,
It's too much.
customers get scared.
Yeah, unless you did something that's really innovative that makes
Right.
me like, why do I need the bag?
Right,
Like,
because
what?
for independent designers, you know, their opening price point, if they're lucky, is in the 500 price point.
I know.
It's that range for them to make sure that they're able to at least make some sort of profit.
Right.
And you have to recognize
And it's
that
scary.
It is scary, but you can't even think, like, you're not going to be making money right off the bat.
No, I don't think
Essentially,
so at all.
it's marketing. When you start selling your bags at the beginning, that's marketing.
Yeah.
That's a marketing expense. You're getting your bag out there. You're getting it on people's arms,
Yeah, I think the
wrists,
best
shoulders.
that's the number one thing to figure out is like, how am I getting this out there to get it taught? But you do have to invest somehow. Maybe it is sending samples out to people to wear, to try.
Right. Funny thing is that I have found, especially with designers who are trying to make their mark, is number one, their point of view, the DNA, but then they're doing something that they're saying, oh my God, instead of your Gucci, wear me. And you can't do that.
No,
You
it
really-
never happens.
No, you can't. And just to touch upon that, I did a hashtag a couple weeks ago. It was always wear your bag. AWYB.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
I gotta
so
go back
good.
to that
because I think about that even now, and I think about it with big influencers that I see now
Right.
that are doing all these lines, and then
they're not wearing their stuff.
They're not wearing their stuff.
I
and
think
I'm
that's
like,
something odd because contractually they're supposed to.
and it's strange to me because,
Right.
but that's what people are looking.
That's what they
People
want to
looking
see
at,
because
you
they
know, it's-
identify you with your product.
Yeah, so it's like that's the first thing you think. Oh, is that your bag?
Right.
Why is that?
But people are so unaware of, number one, taking criticism for their product. And number two, recognizing that just because it's a handbag, it's not a Van Gogh. You want to make sure people buy your product.
So
They keep
true.
coming back to buy and shop again and again and again. But also to recognize that as an independent designer, you have a lot of flaws in your brands.
Yes.
And this is where, when you meet people like you, or even people like me, this is your opportunity to say, okay, what am I doing wrong so I can try to do it right?
And don't let it get you upset.
Correct.
Because that advice is some of the best advice ever.
Yes.
You know, I mean,
Right.
maybe like what kind of hardware you're using, or if it doesn't open. A lot of the times, you know, like newer designer bags,
They
they're not
forget a
thinking about-
gusset.
Yes, yeah.
They
Oh my
forget
God.
gussets. Guys, I want to put it out there that gussets are very much on trend for 2020. So people think that just because you're doing a rectangular or a silhouette-like bag, that you shouldn't have something that actually opens. But I found a lot of bags recently have clutch-like openings.
Oh yes, that go like this. Yeah,
I have a bag like that it's actually a change purse opening.
Yes, that go
that they put
like that
on,
metal hinge, right?
Right.
Like,
so they put it inside backpacks. That they put it inside much more slender bags, but it gives you an opportunity to actually have an additional extension.
It's so
opening.
frustrating. I will literally, when I'm buying a bag, go in and see how I can open it, because I'm a fast going. And the biggest thing is a bag that you can't get into, and that you're frustrated trying to get your stuff out of because the opening is too small, or because it doesn't zipper. I mean, I can tell you about then that's a designer bag, and I can give you everything bad about it.
Yeah.
For some reason, the strap, when you put it on, it flips over so the bag's upside down because they didn't make the size of it.
Right.
But these are the things that even big brands don't think about.
To make sure that the straps at the side, that the turn locks can actually rotate when you're trying to put it on.
Right.
And that is why I call it retail anthropology. You have to try on your product, you have to take it for a test drive, and then you have to see what's wrong with it. You have to spend a whole day. It's just like a car. You need to see what'll work and what won't.
Exactly.
However, when you're going up to speak to somebody, you always have to make sure you're ready and packaged because, again, you have to be your own best publicist all the time. But in terms of this is your opportunity to get in front of somebody, have something ready, quick introduction. This is what I like. Can you answer me this X, Y, Z? Q, for anybody who doesn't know, that's minimum quantity. So that really goes back to two things. Number one, do you have orders against it? So
that's big.
Yeah. So if you don't have orders against it, find out from your factory to find out what is the minimum amount from them that they will do and how it impacts your price. So what I would recommend is ask them for what is it, if they're a factory, depending on the country. China is very gun shy about this, and other countries might be a lot more open. What would it be for 100 pieces, for 500 pieces, 1,000, and then go straight to 5,000.
Because it makes a difference.
It's called economies of scale. So for those of you who don't know Costco, when you're buying things in bulk, the more you buy, the smaller the unit price is. So the more you buy, the less your cost per item is. So if you're buying 100 pieces, your cost per item will be much, much higher. If you're doing 1,000, it'll be much smaller. So the first step is I would ask the factory in terms of what their minimums are, ask them their delivery times.
Yes.
And then
that's a big issue with a lot of brands.
Huge.
I remember going to trade shows and I would order stuff for my boutique and they would have cancels just because
they didn't have enough orders against.
Just
quickly wrapping up that question. Find out from your factory and then find out if you can do a short run or see if you can get orders against those pieces. And then what I would do is either do a trunk show to get the face-to-face interaction with the product. I know it's important to have direct-to-consumer right now, guys, but the thing is that unless you see someone interacting with your product, see, feel, touch, then you're really not going to know because you can only display your product. So
that's the best thing you can do. When I was starting, I had 4 or 5 different. I had shows at my house.
I always did.
Actually,
I would never have shows at my house. I would have shows at a friend of a friend's house.
And because then so good.
Yeah, and then you get people because your friends might be thoughtful about critiquing, but the friends of a friends, they could give 0 Fs. They would be like, ooh, I don't like this, I don't like this. And then you would really get to see firsthand in terms of what their response is, what their threshold is to spend.
That was big.
I think apparel is a little tricky because it comes in sizes.
Yeah, the second you get into sizing, it's
that's super, super tricky. And I mean, jewelry, it's easy. Not easy, but easier.
Yeah.
But in terms of how much money it would take, I would start going back to picking one particular item.
Yes.
And doing it really, really well.
Amazing.
And then doing it in 3 sizes.
And make people want more. I mean, that's the best thing is if you have the interest in it, people are buying it, and now you're like, okay, I'm coming out with some
And
more
it also
styles.
comes back to where you're having your products made. So if you're making them domestically, wherever you're from, domestically they'll always be more expensive, but at least you'll get a gauge in terms of how people will want them, what the response will be, and if it's worth even moving forward. So to answer your question, I'd say at a minimum $5,000. That
was the number I was
at
going to
a
say.
minimum $5,000.
I would say start with 5, and it's almost guaranteed that's double.
I was just going to say, I was about to say 10.
But 5 is reasonable only for, like, you can get started.
You can get started,
you can
and keep your day job if you can. That's so important. Don't do that, because you still need to make sure you have income coming in, or at least make sure if you're getting a job or are in a position to intern or freelance or volunteer, work for the company.
Like, don't expect that $5,000 you invested to make you money
That's
back.
called sunk cost or sunk investment, purely for marketing, research, and development. So I would go back to, are the box clutches your DNA? Are you known for them? Do you have a name tied to them? Do you have people wearing them? Not that you necessarily need to have people wearing them, but do you have people who would recognize your brand? Because there are a lot of brands that are known just for doing unique items. Right now, that's super important to have DNA, have a point of view. So if you're known for box clutches, I think before you go on to doing totes, because everybody does totes, but maybe doing different sizes of the box clutch, maybe even playing with shape, maybe have it be a rectangular clutch.
Right, or even like fabrics. Like, I'm thinking, I can picture so many box clutches now and brands that do them. Yeah. And what way can you do it that would really stand out? And
I'm sure you feel the pressure thinking, oh, I'm a handbag brand. I said handbag. I'm a designer. I'm a brand. I need to have all these things. However, it's important that if you have a point of view and you're actually selling them, then try to expand on that and stay within the box shape, maybe.
Yes, but take it to, that's where you can really get creative.
You could do so many things. You can even play with the depth. You can make them skinnier. You can make them fatter.
Or is it acrylic? Is it, did you take the box shape but you made it out of a really cool fabric that has structure to it? Right. I would love to see a bag that's done like a box but not so hard, because I know a lot of times
box clutches are really
I
awkward
carry
to
them.
Carry.
Yes, and they like hit, and then like you feel like you have to always place them down somewhere.
Right. You know what I think is missing in a box clutch is having the side that is going up against you to be a different material.
That would be good. Like softer or something.
Or something,
maybe just like,
or something that's much more comfortable or ergonomic.
That is the work.
Sometimes it takes more than 1 year. Sometimes it takes 2, 3, 4 years.
We've seen designers in it for years.
We've had one designer who's been a finalist, I think 4 times.
Yeah.
And every year she tries and tries, and then I told her, I said, how are you holding up? And she said, you know what? This is enough validation that it's keeping me going.
And that's amazing.
It took a full year from the time that she won to get this full phone call.
Time, people don't realize what time takes.
Oh, no, and it's traumatizing.
It is.
Because like you win.
It's exciting.
And you're like, oh my God.
You think everything is going to happen and change.
No, and you think.
And how are you like using that?
Exactly.
Use that moment.
Exactly.
Use it everywhere, put it out there.
Yeah.
You make the momentum.
This is what it is. What the Handbag Awards are is a platform for you to push you.
Yes.
It will change your life if you are in a position to hustle and say, now I'm a winner. Now I can move forward. I'm a finalist. Now I can move forward. And we're really going
and make your Instagram good.
Have an Instagram.
Like, do you guys realize when we're sitting there looking at the bags, I know the first thing I do is go to the Instagram.
Yes.
And I'm like, let me see. And I know, you want to mix things. If you're going to mix in your personal with it, make sure that it flows and makes sense.
Make sure that your brand, even if it's personal, represents your brand DNA.
Exactly.
So if you're in there with your kids and your bags are wild and colorful and fun, then sit there with your kids and have a rainbow of M&Ms next to you or something.
Make it make sense to me. And if I have to scroll like all the way down to see one bag that's your bag, it's like, okay.
Yeah, this is what our judges do. They cross-check. They want to see, once we get down to the wire to see like if someone's a finalist, then there's
and how much passion is behind it. Because if you're just doing it as a hobby and it's just something fun on the side, you're posting you know, maybe 1 or 2 bags here and there on your Instagram, no big deal.
Right.
You can see when someone is in love with their bags
Right.
and loves creating.
Right.
And like, I love seeing the stuff that's behind the scenes sewing and putting.
In terms of technical knowledge, what are you trying to understand in terms of the anatomy of a handbag, how to work with the factory in India, you know, I mean, technically how to do a tech pack. There are a lot of technical elements. If it's something you can't do, I would be actually more apt to outsource, but make sure
that's the first thing I thought
to do tech packs and so forth.
Get the right people on
and
it.
find people you can trust to do something like that. But what I would personally do is make sure before you even start dealing with the design is make sure the DNA of the brand is cohesive, make sure it has a vision, make sure it has a voice, make sure where it is within the landscape.
I mean, that's all the creative.
Where does it fit in? How can you make the change to actually give it something that it's missing? Because that's what we're developing for 2020 is the Handbag Designer Network. The one thing we do for finalists, once they've gone this whole 6-month hurdle, the application process opens January 1st, then it closes at the end of April, and then we go through this whole thing, and the awards are June 13th or June 10th this year, the night before the awards. Do you know this?
Party?
Yeah, we organize a meet and greet for designers, for all the finalists, for them to meet each other. And it's a golden opportunity.
That is a huge opportunity.
And what this has shown us is this need for community and this need for support. And we all might be designers out there, but it's a very lonely process, as you know. What you do.
There's and you always have, no matter how long you've been in it, you have questions and you want to know, you know, the best way someone's doing something, or someone just does something a little bit different. You're like, wow, that works for you. I mean, me and you talk all the time. And I'm like, that's such a great idea. Why didn't I think of it? Like, you're in the industry 15 years and you're still like, oh,
I know.
I didn't think of that person, or I didn't do this, or why didn't I make that extra step? So having the network of people that can help.
That's what we're really. I know in theory there's this pressure to constantly come out with new things.
Yes.
From a marketing standpoint, people will say, oh, I've seen this, I don't want to cover it. However, then you have to go back to what are your sales and traction. So and if you have these 8 bags and they are your core to your DNA, I think honestly 8 is too many.
It's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot for me to identify with a brand. And I feel like you want bags that are gonna.
I think from a DNA perspective, I think you should start 3 to 5. I'd say 3 to 5, and then keep those others in to potentially rotate them in if you need to show
or maybe as like a
pieces.
Special holiday, something, you know, like add them in. I feel like they can come into play as like an exclusive or something you want to play up on the marketing part of things, you know? Or
so I think, you know, I understand you have 8 and it's cool that you have them for a year. Yes, that is okay, but you need to think about, how is this leading to my sales? Do I have enough sales to quantify to make a different color? Before you start developing more, what is the response what has been the response to those 8 pieces? What people react to the most. Because out of 8, much like I always say, it's Baskin-Robbins syndrome. If you guys don't know, that's ice cream. So you have to treat your customers like they're all 3 years old.
Yes, I agree with that so much.
So if you think about taking a child to an ice cream shop, what happens with a parent, for those of you who are moms, or dads, or partners, or people, or aunts, if you take a child to an ice cream shop, they lose their freaking minds because there's too much. It's stimulation overload. And what that ends up doing to the person who's making the purchase, it makes them angry, and either the child ends up with nothing, or the child ends up with something they don't want.
Yep, most likely.
So your best bet is it's retail anthropology. It's getting inside of the mind of people of how they shop, and saying, okay, if I have 3 in front of you, which one would you touch? If I have 5 in front of you, if you look at a merchandising table, 8 things are going to get lost. That's why I still am always designing. You can get my book, Handbag Designer 101. It's still selling. It sold like 50,000 copies. It was translated into Finnish.
Oh, that's awesome. That's right. I remember when it was.
That's my story.
Yes.
That I always say I'm a celebrity, and most likely in Finland. And when the book came out, I said I had cardboard cutouts of myself in all the bookstores in Helsinki.
Yeah.
And then people were like, really? And I thought, if you're going to believe me,
then you're
then I
it
am.
is. It's
I'm
true.
huge in Helsinki.
I mean, you and Sex and the City. That's like forever.
Oh yeah, my bag was on
That's
Sex and the
forever,
City.
like,
If you're developing a line, I always say if you have something that people are responding well to, it's got to be a family. What does that mean? Because if you have someone that is actually responding to one particular shape and size, then can you do it in a bigger? Can you do it in a smaller? And the smaller, can you translate to a crossbody?
Right.
How are those straps working? And the bigger,
small
can it be a tote?
Yeah.
And then the one in the middle, then it's a crossbody, you know. And then you have to need to point out one thing about bucket bags that are really, really, really important. Please make the lining bright.
Yes. I mean, it's funny because I was never a bucket bag person, but this year suddenly they're very trendy.
Bucket, yes, they
They're,
are
like, everywhere.
Well,
And
yeah.
drawstring.
Well, you know, so they got hot a few years ago.
Yeah.
But
yes, the lining inside is so.
A bucket bag is an abyss.
It is.
It is an abyss. That's why bucket bags are very age specific. You will not find anybody under the above an age where they need glasses. How did you do it? So
look at the masthead and
Yes.
find all the editors. Usually accessories editors, market editors are big. Market editors are probably
they're the ones who are
so funny
shopping.
to be talking about this because I haven't really talked about.
We haven't covered this because it seems like
the print is
people that
you know.
So
but it's still.
Whoever is there, make sure they know the product.
Yeah.
Make sure they know the product
Because you could be
inside and out.
and
make sure that they love the product.
Yeah.
Make sure that they are people who can represent the brand. They understand the DNA.
And they want to. I feel like 'cause
Yes.
I've gone to trade shows and I sometimes am so surprised at brands that and I know it's probably not the person, the
Right.
designer. You'll just see them sitting in a chair waiting at a booth. Like, I don't want to walk over
No.
to that booth that
No.
the person's just sitting there.
No, first of all, trade shows.
you have to be up and
No,
active.
trade
and,
shows
you know.
are the devil's work.
Okay.
The last one about the trade show, make sure that you check in with whomever's there and make sure that they use the bags before.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they have a comfortableness about it. You know?
Yeah,
like,
because you want them, say, if you have access to samples that
Yeah.
you can reuse, make sure that they take them home, that they wear them, that they interact with them.
don't just send somebody that can be there.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. So,
Always happy to answer stuff.
yeah, so
You can
she's
DM
at Don
me.
Del Russo, the cutest freaking person. I'm at Handbag Designer. I have it on my necklace.
Oh, and I love that.
Yes,
Oh,
I know,
it's the
I
best
know.
necklace ever.
That's branding. All about branding. I can write this up too. All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Bye,
Please
guys.
be sure, keep in touch and message us.
Yeah.
And good night. You're
night.
cute. I don't know where you
Aw.
are, but you know to DM, and we'll do this once a month if anything.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely. I
amazing.
love doing this.
I know.
Yeah, this is so
All right,
much fun.
guys.